You are listening to Dodging Divorce Disasters, a podcast where I interview divorce professionals that give you clear guidance, real talk, and smart strategies to help you make better decisions when it matters most. My name is Lori Hawkins. I am a divorce realtor, expert, and your host. I have the privilege of working with these professionals daily, and there is a wealth of knowledge in each episode. Let's get started. Hello, welcome to another podcast, Dodging Divorce Disasters. And I am so excited today because this is kind of different. I've never had anybody on here like this before. This is Julie Brooks, and I met Julie through a networking group through the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce, I believe. And we have just become friends. A lot of our thoughts and the way we feel about things just lined right up. I just thought the more she spoke about what she did, which is so interesting, I just thought, people that are going through a divorce need to hear this. So how are you, Julie? Thank you so much for being on here today. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful, Lori. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about today.
I know, I am too. Okay, so that I don't mess anything up, I am just going to let you go through and tell us your company name, exactly what you do, and anything else that you want the listeners to know.
My name is Julie Brooks, and my company name is, I keep it simple, Julie Brooks Coaching, Hypnosis, and Training. And coaching is life coaching. Hypnosis, I'm a counselor and a hypnotherapist. And the training is personal training. So I work with people through their health and wellness journey, wherever that is that they are, whether it's nutrition or mental and emotional health. And
Right?
I'm in Denver, North Carolina, but I practice predominantly online so I can support anybody anywhere. Happy to see people in office though.
Okay, so you do have a physical office that people can come to.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good, 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 good. Okay, so just right off the bat, I think what's probably going to capture everybody's attention, which it did in mine, was the whole hypnosis thing, because to me, that has always seemed very mysterious, very magical, very hocus pocus. But we have spoken about this. I mean, because everything I'm saying to you now on here, I said to you in person.
Yes.
I really want to get into that a lot. But first, before we get started, I always ask my guests to give me a fun fact about themselves so that, people out there listening can kind of see who you are outside of just doing your business. And you had said that you won gold in a powerlifting competition. Tell us about that.
Yes. The reason I thought that would be a fun fact is because when people meet me in person, if they get the opportunity to do so, the first thing most people say is, I thought you would be bigger because I'm not very big. I'm
No, you're
not even
tiny.
5'2" anymore and just not a terribly big person, but I'm a big personality and I'm a stubborn personality. So I've, for a long time, really liked to push my boundaries from a physical fitness point of view. And I just needed to try powerlifting and I went all the way to competition and won gold. Also run full marathons and I've participated in the Scottish Highland Games as well. So all
My
kinds of fun
gosh.
things. Yeah.
Good gracious. I think we could just keep going on and on and on. And every time my jaw would probably drop open even more because every time I talk to you, I'm like, you're kidding me. That is so cool. Well, I'm telling you, if I wanted to hire a trainer or someone like that, I would want some trophies up on the wall and to get gold in a powerlifting, that's pretty impressive. Now I know nothing of that world because if you look at me, people say, "I thought you would be smaller." So I know nothing of the weightlifting. But, I just think that's so cool. Thanks for sharing that with us. But, so let's move on to dodging divorce disasters. The whole reason people really listen to this, because any of us that work with people that are going through divorces, and I know that's part of who the people that you work with, we have all seen them make bad choices, maybe do some things that they shouldn't have done, or not do some things they should have done that has put them in a bad place. And the whole goal of this podcast is for people to listen to this and perhaps dodge some divorce disasters, avoid some of these pitfalls by knowing what to do differently. So share something with us that you're seeing someone do.
So, what came up when I thought of like a divorce disaster was a situation, and this happened quite a few years ago. And the the husband was actually my client, but then the wife became a client as well. And what had happened is neither one of them had been married until their 40s. They got together and they decided this they're going to do this. And they had had relationships and they'd had a life and they were both attractive people and they just hadn't committed to that level. So what they did was they got married, and day 1 when the wife moved in, she started looking for reasons to get divorced. And that wasn't her mandate, although it was. But what she had been doing, and she admitted to this, is she printed every email of his that came through. Like when he received an email,
Oh,
she printed them all so she could read them at her own leisure and make sure there was nothing going on between him and a coworker, between him and a friend. Read every single one of them. She had boxes and boxes of these printed out emails that she was reading. And it was so hard to even conceptualize the pain that she must have been in to feel this was necessary. And so the reason that one came to mind is we need to be in a healthy space. Now you cannot become a good partner without having a partner. It's not possible. You can't go off and live on a mountain and become a good partner. But before we commit to something, we should really do more work than we do. It's far too easy to get married and far too hard to get divorced. So
amen.
in that case, I really wish people would do the due diligence beforehand and make sure they
Right.
honestly, just from my perspective, I have a very different outlook than possibly a lot of your guests because they're coming at it from legalese and that kind of thing. But to dodge a divorce disaster, that couple could have still been married to this day had they worked on those things before moving in together and having them become a problem. As I
Right.
said, they both knew this was happening, didn't really know what to do about it, and just let it happen for far too long till the walls were too.
Yeah. Now, what capacity were you working with her and then both of them? How were you working with them? Like out of your different as a life coach?
Hypnosis.
Okay.
Hypnosis. So when I do an appointment for life coaching, it's generally all of the things. So I come at my coaching and my business in general from the point of view that if we are living in prevention, keeping ourselves healthy physically and mentally, then we have a better chance at having a holistically good life. So in this case, they came because he came first because he was so stressed. He just didn't know what to do with himself. And he needed to not feel like he was more than walking on eggshells in his house. He was already charged with a crime that he didn't commit in his marriage before they even got started. So he
Mhm.
was coming at it from like, I just need respite. I need to release some of this stress. But we realized pretty quickly that you can't release stress if you go home and the same stress is meeting you at the door. So we had
Right.
to incorporate them as a couple and so on and so on. And we realized that this was not a healthy, like a healthy situation, but we didn't get to the point where we could save the marriage in that case.
Well, let me ask you this. What is the difference between a life coach and somebody going to see a therapist? Like, why would he choose to come see you to try to get this straightened out versus a therapist?
So because I am both, when I work as a therapist, it's more looking at the past and seeing what we can do to come to terms with the past. When I'm working as a coach, my job is to look at the future and see how we can set goals to get to that future.
I see.
So coaching is always my go-to, but sometimes you have to visit the past to be able to affect the future in the most positive way. I do live much more in the coach seat than I do in the therapist seat.
But you are a licensed therapist as well?
I'm not licensed, I'm
Oh,
certified.
okay.
So, certification course, and I've taken like the psychology courses, eating disorders, which we can get into
Right.
later because it does feed into the divorce situation as
Right.
well. But I didn't go through with my 4-year degree and my master's and all that kind of stuff. And that's what you need
Gotcha.
for licensing.
I gotcha. So, fill us in on how you use the hypnosis in all of this. Where does that play a part, especially as it would, like, deal with a divorce? I mean, I know you could use it for a lot of things, but
Mhm.
since this is a divorcing podcast, like, how would you relate that somehow with if you're dealing with somebody that's going through a divorce?
So, something that's interesting about the mind, and when you are in hypnosis, you are dealing with the subconscious mind. So, in other words, your library. Everyone has one. It's where you keep all of your memories. Something really interesting about those memories is every time you bring them up, even just to think about them again, let alone speak them, you change them. So, if it is a negative memory, it gets worse. If it is a positive memory, it gets better. So, if you are just talking to me about your memories, you remember on this birthday, this happened, and on this, whatever it was that happened was probably not exactly like you're telling me. And you're not lying. Your mind does that. That's what our mind does. It's a mechanism that the mind is trying to make us feel like we made the right decision. So if it's good, it's better. If it's bad, it's worse. So in hypnosis, there's no good, better, best. There is facts. So if we go into your mind and I bring up said birthday, it's like you're looking at it from a third party. You're just looking at the memory. You're not emotionally telling me the story. You're saying, yeah, there was blue shoes on the floor. You can actually tell me everything that was going on, even things that you couldn't, like, that weren't right in front of you, because it's like you're going backwards. It slows down the mind. You can see the things that you maybe couldn't really see, but your mind has collected them. So in hypnosis, you can do that. You can slow down the memory and really kind of take it apart piece by piece. Whereas if I were to just ask you a question about this memory, you tell me and it evokes emotion, good or bad, and then you tell me and it gets a little bit bigger no matter what it is. And again, it's not about, you're not lying, you're not purposely doing this. Your mind is just going, you were correct. Don't forget this was bad, or don't forget this was good. And it just
Yeah.
makes it a little brighter and a little more impactful.
So how does that help when it comes to, like, how's the way that you've used this in dealing with someone that's going through a divorce? How could this help?
So this is going to be a little bit roundabout. Is that okay? It's one of my favorite stories. It evokes emotion in me. I was dealing with a gentleman who was court ordered to see me. He was court ordered because he had gone to prison after assaulting his wife. And the divorce was going to go through. He had assaulted his wife and he didn't want to be with her anymore. Like, he loved her, but he knew he wasn't the best thing for her at this point. So he was mandated to come see me for anger. And the first session that we did, he refused to participate. He was just going to sit there and stare at the wall, didn't care that I was there. I'm like, you have to come back here. This is court mandated. So you can try and get something out of it, or you can sit there and stare at the wall. Like, I can't force you. So the second time he came back, he had decided, and he didn't share it with me, but he decided he was going to participate. And we did a timeline regression back to when he was 2 years old. And he had had the best day of his life. He's describing this to me in hypnosis. Best day of my life. I was out all day with my dad. We went swimming. We hung out with his buddies. We did all kinds. It was amazing. When we got home, my mom was so mad and she threw me in my bedroom and she yelled and screamed at him all night. And then he left. So women are awful. In hypnosis, he's like, my dad was drunk. He was driving with me on his lap, drunk. We were out till all hours. My mom didn't know where we were. Like, he could see all these things. He could see it from his adult self instead of from the little boy who had lost his best buddy. And he just broke down because he realized he had hated his mom and women in general, even though he was attracted to them, hated them for his whole life. He was 50 some years old. And after that session, he came back another few sessions because he was court mandated too. So we worked on stress and a bunch of other things. But he was never the same. His mom called me, thanked me for working with him. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. And that's the thing, is I'm not magic. All I get you to do is see you. It's not me. I'm not doing
Well,
anything special. So in that case, where he went after, I can't tell you. We lost touch. I was in touch with him for quite a few years. He would call me every so often and like, I just need to relax or whatever. He was in touch, but then we lost touch. But I know he was dating somebody and he was so excited about it and he was happy about it. And he had never had a good relationship. Never, because
That's
of what
amazing.
happened in his childhood and because of his misinterpretation of what had happened in his childhood. That's
Mhm.
the brutal part. Because we all have enough baggage to carry and trauma, but to misinterpret it and carry that trauma, that's brutal.
Yeah, I could only imagine how many memories we probably have misinterpreted. I mean, and
Absolutely.
if you went back to specific memories, I mean, because I'm divorced and I think how many memories did I misinterpret? You know, that if I had had a clearer picture from a third party, like what you said, kind of standing off
Mhm.
observing rather than feeling the emotions at the moment.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of amazing.
It
So,
is.
wow. Well, so life coaching, mostly what you do, you mentioned a minute ago about like nutrition and supplements and how does that, if I came to you as someone that was divorcing and just said, help me, what would you do? How would you go about helping me?
Well, one of my favorite lines, and I got it from a book. I can't remember for the life of me what book it was, but it stuck with me like right here. And it's kind of how I end when I do keynote speeches or anything like that. It's how I end. It's I'm not here to change who you are. I'm here to help you let go of who you are not. People come from divorce and they have become a different person. They have and sometimes it's because the relationship demanded it. Or maybe it wasn't a good space for them. Not all marriages are good. Not all marriages are bad. Sometimes we leave ones that are good and sometimes we don't leave ones that are bad. But they come and they've taken on different personas. And one
Right,
of the biggest things we have to do when we get divorced, and I have been divorced, is we need to let go of who we perceived we were in that relationship. So whether we got strength in that relationship and felt empowered, sometimes we need to let go of that false empowerment that we felt because of the relationship. Now, more often than not, we feel disempowered and we need to let go of that. And sometimes it's that the other person, whether it's male or female, the other person sometimes was just more of a personality and they were loud and big and you just didn't even feel like you fit in the room with them. But sometimes they were just themselves and you had been conditioned from a very early age that you had to step back because the other person was more important.
right,
Or whatever your story is. There's a million stories and they all matter. But we have to understand what is your story and what is your truth. And it's the story we need to let go of so that you can get back in to who you actually are and who you're meant to be.
right. And you know, it's so easy because I was murdered. I was married. I felt like I was murdered. I was married.
Interesting slip.
I was married close to 30 years, so I mean a long time,
Good.
and you don't realize how much you change, good or bad. I mean, you
Mhm.
just don't realize it because it's so gradual. I mean, you know, when you spend that many years with someone, you just change, and we're all meant to change, right? But I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
not necessarily being influenced by your spouse or your partner as to why that's why you're changing, just like what you just said. Until sometimes you're out, you step back and you step away from the relationship and then you see your old personality emerging a little bit and you've forgotten. You actually forgot who you were. I mean, do I sound crazy? I mean, am
No,
I the only one that felt like that? Yeah.
no, I'm sure a lot of people, whether they were aware of it, see, that's the thing is sometimes there's lack of awareness. You yourself, obviously, you're like, "Oh, I remember her," and
Yeah.
and it's fascinating because I do it myself, and it's like, do I miss her? Do I wish I was a bit more like her? And then you have to like bring all the other things that were her into the situation. It's like I don't miss all of that.
Mhm. Yeah, true. Very
I was a
true.
little hard to be around sometimes, things like that. And it's like, but it's all you are very correct. We are going to change. with or without a spouse, with or without a certain job. We are going to change as we grow and morph and age, but we definitely become somewhat of a caricature to fit into the role we perceive we need to fit into. I
Right.
think that is honestly what leads to most divorces, though, is that we perceive a role and then start acting it out without ever knowing if it's the correct one.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. You did mention that the area that's kind of your niche area is you are all about prevention in wellness and in health.
Yes.
Not wait like what you just said, not waiting till the walls are already so high that there's probably no tearing them down, but actually trying to work on the things before that happens. Is that kind of how you run your business?
Yes, and in all areas. One of my favorite couples that ever came to me, and honestly, they probably gave me this energy in the couple and the relationship because they were very young in their 20s and they had just gotten married the year before. And they wanted a couples hypnosis session. And I said, "Is there anything that we're working on?" They said, "We love each other and we love being together and we want to continue to love being together. We see so much divorce and so much fighting. We don't want that. So, how can we make sure that we continue to be in this space?" And honestly, it even makes me emotional now thinking about it. And they're still together today with two little boys and
Oh,
amazing. But it's so important. Not everybody has that forward thinking. But if somebody like myself and like yourself puts it out there that, hey, we can actually work on our relationship every day and not have it be tedious, but have it be fun and prevent those miscommunications, make it so that we can actually speak openly. Maybe you have a 10-minute window every single day where you each get 5 minutes, just like say something that you're like, I know it's nitpicky, but this bothered me. And just say it from, but say it from your heart. Do not say it from your trauma and from your anger. Say it from your heart. Like, I want us to last forever. So stop spraying the toothbrush on the window.
I had a friend of mine to tell me she was in a new relationship. I mean, they had probably been together a year, but I mean, they had not got married at that point or anything. So it was fairly new. And she said that every week, I think she said on Sunday, they would sit down and they would talk about the good and the bad between them, not like what had happened at work or with friends or anything. They would just talk about the things that worked and the things that didn't work and would discuss it. And I said, "Aren't you guys very mature and so far beyond your time?" I mean, I have never heard anybody do that. But I mean, what a great way to stay on top of things and to have that freedom to know that you could express yourself about things that you don't like without someone being judgment. I mean, actually wanting it, like, give me the constructive criticism. I know it's coming from a place of love and I know it's coming from a place to make us better. And see, isn't that all about the perspective anyway? I mean, the way we dish it out, what our delivery is to someone else can be 90% of the way someone is going to accept it or not.
Yes. And I love that. I love my husband and I do that. And we always have. We and I love constructive criticism. I'm a little bit weird in that respect because I always want to be bigger, better, faster in every way. So if I'm doing something that is getting in the way of the best possible outcome with our relationship, with my career, I'm not always going to go, "Oh, thank you so much for that." But I'm super grateful. And I
Right,
think, like you said, it's the perspective. Nobody wants to be told they suck. But at the same time, it's good to be told that wasn't ideal so that you can be better the next time. Or you can discuss, because sometimes it's the other person's opinion or perspective that also needs to shift. So we can't forget that too. This is not about always going one way and the other person's always right. Sometimes it's a miscommunication, in which case communicate, communicate, communicate. It's like location, location, location in real estate.
that's exactly
In
right.
therapy, it's communicate, communicate, communicate.
That is exactly right. All of this is so interesting, and the more like I said, the more I get to know you, personally, the more I want to get to know you, but then when I speak to you in this professional form, it's just fascinating what you do. I mean, I think it would be so much fun. I don't know if fun's right. Rewarding. Let me say that it would be rewarding to have your job. I guess it's just like anything else. But well, let me ask you, what is the best way for people to get in touch with you? What's your best contact information? And, how if they call you, what do they even say? I mean, do you have, like you just do sessions? Do you have programs? What is it? How do they even work with you? How do they begin that?
Thank you for asking. So the easiest is juliebrooks.life. That's my website, and it's got my phone number and my email and all that kind of stuff, which of course I can give you here now as well. But if you go to juliebrooks.life, it's everything.
And
What you'd
that's
also,
Brooks, right?
that's
Brooks, Julie
correct.
Brooks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And on there, it shows my courses. So I do one on one sessions, I do full assessments. And for the month of January, the assessments are on special. If somebody sees this video and it's after January, please just say you saw that there was a January special, but you didn't see it till March. Let me know. I'm happy
Which
to,
can
to
be
still do that. Yeah, yeah. So, and my assessments are everything from body composition to right to blood work if we need to do it. I have somebody that does the blood work for me. I'm not a doctor or a nurse practitioner or anything like that. But we just make sure that we've got metrics and an understanding of where you're at. We work with the mental, the emotional, stress levels, physical levels, nutrition, how you're sleeping, all that kind of stuff. I offer multiple courses. One that I is kind of my flagship is a group coaching course, and it is a 12-week course. We meet for 1 hour every week for that 12 weeks, and each week is a different topic. You get a video before 4 days before the coaching call. You get a video, so you've got a few days to watch it. And then you bring your questions, concerns, or as I like to say, cries of outrage, and we can answer all those questions. I also do two other courses that are one on same idea. We do a video, but then you still get
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. Well, I cannot thank you enough. This is just so interesting and fascinating. And for those of us, including yourself, that's been through a divorce, we know how stressful those times can be. Whether you're male or female, we all deal with it different ways. So it's nice to have someone like you that we can reach out to that can kind of encompass the whole deal. You can kind of help us from start to finish. So I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate the time that you did and all the information, your expertise in this field. I really appreciate it. All right, we will talk soon. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The information contained herein is not legal advice. If you need legal advice, please seek an attorney.